Hi bees! Welcome back to Be or Not to Be with Michelle and Austin. This is the third week of October, so following the previous weeks, we are doing another movie review on a Halloween movie we grew up watching, which will ultimately lead up to our Halloween special at the end of the month. So, for this movie review, we will be asking ourselves 3 questions. Was it a good movie? Does the movie hold up in today's Halloween culture? Do we still like it? If not, why? So, B, what movie are we doing today?
Well, B, I think this is probably the most excited I've been for a movie thus far. We're reviewing Hocus Pocus, which basically, I grew up on watching like every Halloween.
Every Halloween?
Pretty much, yeah. Like, I think from like when I could remember till like maybe like 13, 14.
Wow.
Yeah.
B, actually, I've never fully watched this.
It's kind of surprising. It's like a cult classic
I
at
know,
this point.
I've heard of it, and I've seen it a lot on Tumblr, to be honest. Like every Halloween, there's like GIFs and there's posts that are always recycled, and Hocus Pocus always shows up. So I've seen it, I've heard of it, but I just never watched it.
Well, V, we'll get into if you liked it or not, but...
I'm excited.
I'm excited too.
Like how it was my first time watching Halloween Town, I'm excited to watch this one. Hopefully it'll be better.
I think we can only go up from Halloween Town. But anyways, so as following our format, we're going to do a quick summary of the movie, and then we're gonna do a disclaimer warning, and then we're gonna go straight into the plot of the movie, and we're gonna break down everything.
Sounds good, B.
Okay, so just a quick summary. When a new kid, Max, moves from LA to Salem, he is very skeptical about the town's belief in witches. But on Halloween night, when he accidentally resurrects the Sanderson sisters, 3 evil witches who feed off the souls of children, but were killed 300 years ago. Now that they are alive again, they want to devour the souls of all children. So it's up to Max and his friends to stop them.
Oh my god, typical.
It's like very like Halloween Goonies vibes.
Yeah, like it's up to him and his friends to like save everyone in the town. The skeptic, sure.
Like every Halloween Scooby-Doo movie possible.
Right. So just a disclaimer for anyone who hasn't watched Hocus Pocus yet. There will be spoilers in this podcast, so if you haven't watched it or do not want to know what happens, then please buzz away and come back after you watched it.
Yeah, guys, buzz off.
So, let's get into it, B.
All right, so the movie starts with a witch's shadow flying over the forest. And I wrote down in my notes that it looks exactly like the Twilight Forest.
It really did.
Like, it's literally like the Twilight opening scene, but then it's like a superimposed like witch just like flying over. It was like such a bad CG moment, but...
But it was pretty good for the times. This movie came out in 1993. Please note that.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like the Twilight opening, but with a witch's silhouette instead. Mm-hmm. So we first get introduced to a boy named Thackeray, who is worried about his sister. He's calling out for his sister, screaming for her, like, Emily, where are you? Blah, 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 because he hears the faint sounds of a witch's singing. Or what we believe to be a witch's singing.
Mm-hmm. And you just hear it's very like in the background, and as he searches for her, like you just hear it. You can't really hear it too well, but then it sounds like a really alluring song.
Mm-hmm. It's very beautiful sounding, but like...
Yeah, maybe that's why.
I guess so.
Lured Emily. And then after that, he runs around the town screaming for her and finds out that the witches, Winnie, Sarah, and Mary, have taken her to their cottage. And everyone, like, my first thought when I saw this part was, this is the prime reason to not follow strangers.
Yeah, but I mean, it's olden times. This is also, like, I forgot to mention.
This is like the 1600s.
Yeah, it's like really olden times, like Salem witch trials times.
Yes.
But like, I mean, so like following strangers was never really a thing.
But I think this was a good moment to highlight. Do not follow strangers.
This is the exact moment when parents are finding like, okay, don't follow strangers.
This is what will happen. So as Thackeray, he sneaks to the roof while they prepare a potion to drain the life out of Emily and into themselves to keep themselves youthful. Mm-hmm. So he stops them before they can feed off of her, but it's already too late. Emily drank the potion, and the witch blasted Thackeray unconscious.
Mm-hmm. So this is kind of the moment when you realize that like the witches are like really
Pretty evil.
They're really evil and really scary. Like
Yeah.
like Winnie, like she didn't flinch. She just like zapped them.
Yeah, and like they knew that they were taking this little girl's life. And the reason they wanted this young girl was because they wanted to take her life force. And in the beginning, you see them as like these three hags, and after they suck her soul, then they become youthful again.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously they sucked the life out of Emily, and then so just a note here, they sucked the life out of Emily, and in the background you can see like Emily's dead body. It's like kind of scary.
It was pretty scary, and it was, even for me watching it now, I was like, ooh, that seems like a little much to put in a children's movie. It gave me like the vibe from like the girl from The Ring.
Yeah, it was like, because her head is like, just for a visual,
She's sitting in the chair.
She's sitting in a chair,
head's down,
and hair is covering her face. So
total
like
Ring vibe.
it's super terrifying. But anyways, so they suck the life out of her, and in a vengeful act, they turn Thackeray into an immortal cat,
so that he can forever live with the guilt of not being able to save his sister.
which kind of like, that's actually like my fear, is like not dying but like being immortal. Because like, just imagine like
Watching all your friends and family like repeatedly dying.
it's like
After you.
it's like a vampire. Wait, that makes sense. That's why Twilight opening.
But it was interesting because they turned him into specifically a black cat. So what instantly my mind was, oh, so does this explain the black cat myth?
Oh, like when
know,
it crosses your path.
Yeah, when it crosses your path, or you know how like usually witches have black cats with them? Like for example, Kiki's Delivery Service and Gigi, a black cat.
Oh, and Luna.
And Luna, and even Sabrina the Teenage Witch had a black cat.
But you know what the funny thing is though, like all of those cats were pets. Like they were the witch's pets. This one is specifically not their pet. This one is just pure evil.
Yeah, an enemy. So I don't know, like it was interesting that they brought this up.
I mean, I guess it makes sense. It fits the theme.
So after Thackeray's turned into a cat and Emily dies, the townspeople come barging into the witch's house and demand that they turn over the children, and the witches, they're like, oh, it's all right, we don't have the children. But ultimately the witches are put to be hung, and before they die, they put a curse on the town and cast a spell that they will return on Halloween night. And I thought this part was pretty dark because when the witches are hung, it shows their feet hanging.
Yeah.
And again, another kind of dark scene to put into a children's movie. I'm surprised they even showed it.
I mean, I think, right, like Pirates of the Caribbean, they had like the opening scene, like people were getting hung as well. But that was a PG-13 movie too, so yeah, this is a pretty dark movie.
So, like, you know, first time watching it, and I'm already seeing how dark this is getting. So, I mean, I'm into it for sure, but I'm just surprised that, you know, 8-year-olds were watching this.
I know. I mean, I ate this stuff up like crazy. I was into it.
So, back to the movie. So, ultimately, basically, the opening was we're introduced to Thackeray, the witches, and all of that. So, after the witches die, it cuts to modern times, which is the early 90s, and we find out that all of that was considered, quote unquote, an urban legend.
Yeah. So we get introduced to Max, who is the main character of the story. He is a Halloween skeptic. He doesn't believe anything.
He is like scoffing as the teacher tells tales of
the Sanderson sisters,
of Halloween and everything.
Yeah. And then we also get introduced to Allison, who is a Halloween connoisseur.
Yeah, she is like saying, oh yeah, Halloween is the one night a year when spirits can come back to this world.
And they really break down the definition of like Halloween as All Hallows Eve and whatever. So, I mean...
So the class, they're very into it.
Yeah, they're cheering for her, which is weird.
Because as we find out, like they live in Salem. The town is Salem. So Max is a new kid from town, and he's from LA, and we find out that he has a crush on Allison.
Yeah.
So after class, he is heading home and takes a shortcut through the cemetery and runs into Jay and Ernie, who refers to himself as Ice.
For some reason.
They are just loser bullies, and this is his first confrontation with them, and they want to steal his shoes. First they ask for cigarettes, then money, and he's like, I don't have any of that. And so they were like, you know what? I'll steal your shoes then. But this just cracked me up because I was like, first of all, who hangs out at the cemetery?
Right.
And second, who takes a shortcut to the cemetery, through a cemetery?
Literally, I don't even understand because like the way that they cut the scenes or whatever, it seemed like it was a longer route than taking like a straight home.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, so he either did that because he wanted to, or like, I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what the reasons would be. Like,
the fact that you would just casually go to a cemetery, I don't know, like, it seems like you're asking for trouble.
yeah, I mean, you can't. But the bullies are so stupid, though.
They are literally the stereotypical bullies that have like no brain.
You know, remember Power Rangers? They had those two guys. I forget their names. Like Skeeter. I forget their names already. But they're like these two motorcycle guys or whatever. They showed up in like every season, and like they reminded me of them, of these people right now. Like I feel like every '90s show had a form of them in there.
Had a brainless bully.
Yeah, pretty much. And I was just like, oh my god, they're so dumb. And then also Ice had ice shaved into the back of his head.
Oh my god.
I was like, oh my god, you're so stupid.
That was so lame.
Whatever. Anyways.
So after getting his shoes stolen, he returns home in a bad mood, and his mom was like, oh, how was your first day? And Max is saying, it sucks. And then all of a sudden dad is saying, don't use that language in my house. And I was like kind of surprised because I was like, he just said it sucks. Like, was that considered a bad word back in the early 90s?
I remember in like, I think my dad was telling me this or whatever, like the reason why sucks is a bad word or whatever is because he grew up in like he grew up in a Catholic school and whatever, and because it was like implied that you're like sucking. Yeah.
Oh.
So I mean, of course it's like very far-fetched. I'm like, okay, dude, what? But yeah. I mean, whatever. Anyways, I also want to point out that like he slams the door to like the most beautiful house I've ever seen before. Mm-hmm. And he just like slams it. He runs up to his room. He's like, I hate it here. And I'm just thinking like, boy, like you came from LA. That place is so expensive. I'm pretty sure if you were living there, you'd be living in like a 1-bedroom apartment or something with your entire family. Yeah. Like, and
his room was the size of like mine and Austin's like doubled, like combined and doubled.
And he had a staircase leading up to a second floor in his room.
I know.
I'm like, how are you so ungrateful, man? Like, I want that house.
Like here in Hawaii, like it's so, like all of our rooms are small.
They're small and they're expensive.
Yeah, so, you know, seeing this in a movie, I was like, what are you complaining about, boy?
Whatever. Anyway, so we get introduced to Danny, who jumps out and scares him from the closet.
His little sister, and she is already dressed up as a witch because it's Halloween day and she needs him to take her trick-or-treating. You know, typical older brother duties.
Mm-hmm. Also, like, I just want to point out the fact that he was like definitely like gooing and gawing over Allison while she was like in the closet.
Yeah. Like he was holding a pillow and he was like saying Allison's name, and then
he's like, oh, your skin is so soft or something like that. It was like creepy. And I'm like, dude, your 8-year-old sister is in your room.
And she uses that against him. Yeah. And is like, oh, Allison.
Oh god, I cringed that like throughout the entire part. I feel so bad for him right now, but also like, dude, like really, that's kind of gross. And creepy.
And so obviously Max doesn't want to take her trick-or-treating because, you know, he's a skeptic and
he's a cool kid.
He's a cool kid. He doesn't want to take his little sister around the neighborhood, but his parents force him to go, so they end up going trick-or-treating, and as they're leaving a house, they run into the same bullies from the cemetery, and Max defends his sister, but I was kind of thinking like, okay, how are these bullies messing with an 8-year-old girl? Like, that is so low.
To be fair, though, they didn't actually, like, hit her or anything like that.
But then the fact that they're trying to steal a little girl's candy.
Yeah, that's kind of, like, messed up.
That's, like, super messed up. And even Ice, he uses the word twerp, which was a word used in Halloween Town. And I'm just like, this is a very 90s word.
I mean, we can always bring it back. I would call you twerp.
It just feels so weird. Like, I like get the shivers when I write here. It's just so old.
Does it give you the heebie-jeebies?
Yeah, it does.
That's a 90s quote too.
That is.
Oh, also we should mention that like while Max is trying to defend Danny's also trying to defend Max by saying like he's like gonna kick your asses in like a way like, you know,
whatever. In a child way.
Yeah. So she's basically embarrassing him.
Yeah, like coming to his defense, which she thinks she's helping, but it's actually embarrassing him.
Yeah.
So once he gives all his candy to the bullies, he tells Danny to get your candy and get out of my life.
Yeah.
And, her feelings are really hurt, so she runs away. And Max realizes, that was a pretty dick move. So they make up.
Which also, I want to point out, if this happened with me and my sister, we would not be... I'd be, pissed at her. I would,
Same. We would not make up in a span of 10 minutes.
Yeah, literally... Okay, this is, definitely, a 90s, family feel-good movie because, every sibling is, really charismatic to each other.
Yeah, very forgiving and patient.
If it was me and my sister, we'd be fighting for, 2 weeks after this.
Remember that time where, it'd be silent treatment the whole time?
Oh, yeah. We'll get into that later. But
after they make up, they decide to go trick-or-treating again, and they end up at a fancy mansion, and they find out that it's Allison's home. Mm-hmm. First, when they knock, no one answers the door, so they just let themselves into a stranger's house, which I was like, okay, who does that?
Yeah.
And then, this is the part that I literally took out my earphones and I cringed and shivered and okay. So basically, Danny, Max, and Allison are all together,
right.
And Danny tells Allison that Max loves your yabos, and she's obviously referring to Allison's boobs.
Yeah.
And the fact that Danny totally told on Max or revealed that and he called them yabos, I cringe and I tore out my earphones because I just couldn't watch the reaction after that.
I could be wrong, but I think I might have face planted the table because I was just are you kidding me? Yabos?
Yeah.
I've never even heard that before in my life, ever.
Is that another 90s term?
I don't know because I've never even heard that in any other 90s show before. So maybe it's an LA thing.
Yabos. Oh
God.
But it was so embarrassing.
Yeah.
I had to look away. So while they're all hanging out at Allison's, Max convinces them to go to the Sanderson sisters' house, which is now a museum, and to go check it out and look around.
Yeah.
The girls, they don't want to, but Max is like, oh no, let's go do it. Let's go do something fun for Halloween. So they end up going. Mm-hmm. They're looking at some of the artifacts, the witch's book, and just other things like brooms and whatever.
Yeah.
And they see that there's a candle, and there's a myth with that candle.
Yeah. On Halloween night, a virgin will light the candle and, what was it, resurrect the Sanderson sisters. That's basically what it was. I want to point out that the candle itself was made out of the fat of a dead man.
That's right, they said that.
Which is really gross. And I'm how do you even make that into a candle?
I know. Although, I don't know if you guys remember, but when I was in 4th grade, I had to read that book Loser by Jerry Spinelli, I think.
I don't remember that.
And the kid made a candle out of earwax.
Okay, but that's even a little bit more believable. Because I'm just thinking the fat would just it would just kind of not congeal, it would do the opposite. It's melted jello, basically.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking.
Well, the Sanderson sisters can use my fat. Help a girl out, help a sister out.
That's liposuction in the world of witches.
In the magic sense. And so the myth, is if a virgin lights a candle, then the sisters will come back.
Yeah.
And Max says it's just a bunch of Hocus Pocus.
Oh my God, there it is. It's that satisfaction when you hear the title of the movie in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh God.
And the girls are like, no, don't do it. And even prior to lighting it, there's a black cat.
Oh yeah, there's a black cat that's Thackeray. Obviously, we know it's Thackeray. Yeah. He jumps and tries to prevent Max from, I guess, lighting it. So he jumps on him, scratches him, throws him to the ground, basically. Yeah. So, but he still does it because Max is stupid.
He is so skeptic, and I feel like he wants to show off to Allison, so he lights it, and all of a sudden you hear the wind blowing, you see these lights turning on by themselves, and basically something bad is coming. And then
every candle in the room lights up.
Yeah, and then you see and the ground opens up, and the sisters come from the ground.
Also, I want to point out that the black flame candle was actually a black flame, which is pretty cool.
Okay, yeah.
Should we talk about the virgin part now?
Okay, yes.
Okay, so even before they mentioned this, because they mentioned the fact that he's a virgin and he lit the candle, and that's why the sisters like
That was
resurrected.
very stressed because Max offered Allison to light the candle.
But she declined.
She was like, no, man, I don't want to light the candle. I don't want to bring the sisters back.
But then later on, it's like, what happened? And then Danny, the little sister, was like, a virgin lit the candle.
Emphasis on the virgin.
Before she even said that, I wrote down in my notes, I was like, I can't believe they like alluded to the fact that he's a virgin by lighting the candle and resurrecting the witches.
Like because of that.
Yeah, I thought because it's a children's movie, it would go right over the top of the children's heads. Like, I thought it was like only going to be mentioned like through that like incantation. The myth. And then that's it. But like, no, they kept bringing it up
throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, we'll go through all those times too. But like, oh God, it was like, I was like, oh my God, like kids don't even know what virgins are.
Yeah,
I hope not.
I didn't know what a virgin was till like middle school, high school.
Yeah, like around that time.
Yeah,
like
so
middle school.
The fact that like this 8-year-old girl is saying it, and you know, like 8 to 10-year-olds are watching this, and I was just like, okay, so this movie's dark and has some
sexual connotation
in there.
Yeah.
But as the sisters come back to life, Winnie reveals that the spell only lasts on Halloween night and until sunrise. And they have, in order for them to live, they must take the souls of children to live forever and gain youth.
Yeah.
So their plan is to just take all like as much children's souls as possible.
Yeah.
And they start with Danny. So the kids are all hiding from them because the witches haven't noticed them. But the witches have a keen sense of smell, especially for children. So they find Danny, and Danny, who's like a very innovative and quick thinker, she pretends to be one of them as well. Oh, haha, like nice to see you guys again. Okay, I gotta go.
I got kind of cringed on this part. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, oh my God, how stupid do you think those witches are?
You never know. You never know.
But so right before the witches are about to like, I guess, capture her, Max, Allison, and Thackeray kind of like jump in to save her.
And I thought that was ironic that a brother is trying to save his little sister again, just like in the beginning of the movie.
Oh yeah, that's like a little parallel happening.
Yeah. So after the kids save Danny and run away, they run to the cemetery because Thackeray tells them that it's hallowed ground and the witches cannot step foot on it. So this scene specifically had a lot of potential to be very scary. Yeah. Because it was dark, it was in a cemetery, and I don't know, just like it could have been a lot scarier.
Yeah, I mean, I guess if it was like a PG-13 movie, if it was a PG-13 movie, like the witches would have like resurrected like every single zombie in the cemetery, like lightning would be crashing down on them,
and the cemetery wouldn't look like goofy or whatever.
Yeah,
it looked like haunted.
It's like it's the equivalent of like if you went to the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. It's like those kind of tombstones.
Yeah.
Actually, it's a little like dumbed down. It's a little more dumbed down.
Yeah, like very more propped.
Yeah, it's like the tombstone when your like Sim dies and like in the Sims.
Oh my God.
Like, you know how like when it dies, it has a tombstone. Yeah. That's what it looks like to me.
So as the kids are in the cemetery, Thackeray reveals that the legends were true. The Sanderson sisters, him, and the whole like the children getting their souls sucked and dying. Yeah. So the witches catch up to the kids and they're flying on their brooms because again they cannot step on hollowed ground. And Winnie resurrects Billy because his grave is near the children, and we find out that he is her ex-lover who cheated on Winnie with her sister Sarah.
Oh my God, this is like, okay, so my thing is like, how are you forgiving your sister so easily but not Billy? I would think like it takes two to tango, right?
It does.
So I mean, I guess like sisterly love, but I guess also like she can't like kill her sister.
Yeah, so because they're a coven. They need each other.
Yeah. But still, it's like...
So when he resurrects Billy and he can't talk because before she killed him, she sewed his mouth together. And they described the process and I thought, oh my God. So she sewed his mouth together with a dull needle or something. That's what they said. And I'm like, okay, that's a little graphic for a children's movie.
I know.
Again.
I forgot. I mean, I watched this movie a lot. I forgot that they said that. But like when you look at the zombie, it's like, oh my god, this is like yarn on mouth.
Yeah. Okay, the zombie itself is like very underwhelming. Not scary at all, but just the details are dark.
Yeah.
So back to the story, as Billy is resurrected, the kids run away into the sewers and the witches try to find them. But Billy is chasing them in the sewer.
Yeah. So we see the witches form a healing circle, is that what it's called? A safe circle or something like that. It's basically just like a meditation circle. And a bus pulls up in front of them and is like, hey, where are you fine ladies heading off to? And then they're like, we're looking, or no, he's like, oh, this is a magical bus that'll take you to your greatest desires. And then they're like, oh, we desire children.
And oh my god, he says, he laughs and smirks and he's like, well, it may take a few tries, but I'm sure we can make it happen. And I cringe. I was like, did he just say that?
I mean, I want to know how this got past every studio exec at Disney. It's like, hey, like these inappropriate jokes, we're going to put them in the movie and we're going to have like kids watch it.
Specifically this line.
Yeah.
Well, it may take a few tries. Like, we all know what you're hinting at, buddy.
I guess like because it's like still not implying sex, or it's like implying sex, but it's not saying it. It's like fine. But like still, man, like, oh my God. I mean, the virgin thing alone is like kind of just like whatever.
But this kind of blew my mind when I heard that.
Do you think like kind of like this kind of movie would would pass in today's standards?
Yeah, because I feel like today's standards are a lot more looser.
Really? I would think it's like less. Cause like,
really?
Yeah, like there's like a lot more like, I guess like offended people.
Oh, because everyone's a precious snowflake.
Yeah. A delicate snowflake.
Yeah. Oh my god. So basically the bus scene happens. They get on the bus and
Sarah's riding the bus driver's lap.
Again.
Oh god.
Okay. And as she's driving, the kids pop out of a sewer manhole.
Right.
Thackeray goes out first, but then as Max is getting out, he realizes a bus is coming towards them, which is Sarah and the witches.
Yeah.
And he goes back into the sewer, but he's too late in pulling Thackeray out of the way, so Thackeray gets run over.
Mm-hmm.
They're all sad, like, oh no, we should have saved him. But you see Thackeray coming back to life because, again, he's immortal.
Yeah, it's like the way that they inflated the body though, it looked exactly like, it's like basically like a cat-shaped pillowcase and they had a balloon inside of it and they just like pumped air into it.
That's exactly what it looked like. So as the sisters are driving the bus, they get dropped off in a neighborhood in front of a house and they are confused because they're smelling children all around them. Mm-hmm. But they don't see children because it's Halloween night. But they don't know that. So they're like, we smell children, but why can't I see them? And then as they're looking around the neighborhood, they come up to a house where they see a guy dressed as Satan or like the devil. And they're like, Master!
And like the guy dressed as Satan's like eating this up. Like,
yeah, his ego's being inflated and he's like, yes, ladies, come in.
Oh my god. You know, honestly, I thought it was going to be like a party or something like that. But no, it's literally just him and his wife, who's not even dressed up, in hair curlers. My favorite part is like, I think Mary was turning to Winnie and he's like, Master's married to Medusa. Look at the snakes in her hair. And then so basically they're partying with Satan. My favorite part of the whole scene was like Sarah like walking up to him and going like, Master, may I have this dance? Because like if you know the famous quote, dance with the devil, it's basically like
that literally happened.
Yeah, that literally happened. It's alluding to like making a deal with the devil, right? So it's like it's like a parallel that's like really on point. I'm pretty sure they did that on purpose, but I could be wrong. It's a children's movie.
I mean, that is a cool scene to cut in with that, like, I mean, to like bring that to life. That's pretty cool. So while the sisters are dancing with the devil, enjoying, you know, like their master and being with Satan, the kids run into a quote-unquote cop on the street, and they're telling him the Sanderson sisters are here, they're back, and we need your help. And he basically laughs at them and is like, you kids, get out of my face, blah, blah, blah. And as the kids are like, I can't believe this, so they run off to find Max's parents who are at a town hall.
Right.
But as they run off, the guy is shown to be a fake cop because it's Halloween night. So
Also,
he was dressed as a cop on his motorcycle. He looked convincing, honestly, but he wasn't a cop, and he was just playing with them.
Also, he like pulled Max aside and he was like, "You're still a virgin?" And I was just thinking, like, that's creepy on so many levels. Like, you shouldn't be asking a child that in the first place. But
because he's obviously still a high schooler.
Yeah, like, no matter what kind of person you are, like, don't ask that kind of, that's grounds for pedophilia, man.
Yeah.
But also, like, a stripper comes out of the bar or whatever that they're in, and like, I was just like, how he's like abducting a stripper now, and then we find out that he's a fake cop. But my question is, how did he get the cop motorcycle? Because that was an actual cop motorcycle he was driving.
Was it?
Yeah, because it had like the little hump thingy, that little hunch thingy that with like the white stripe on it, or the blue stripes on it.
Some motorcycles do have that though.
True, but it had the lights on it as well.
Do you think it could have just been a prop?
I guess, but I feel like you can't, like, legally you probably couldn't do that.
That is true.
I don't know, man. I mean, like, the fact that,
I didn't
like...
catch that.
That's what I noticed. I was like, how did he get a motorcycle like that? But whatever, it's fine. It's a children's movie. They can do whatever they want, I guess.
Evidently, if they can be talking about, like, making children and everything. So, after we find out that the cop is fake, the kids are off looking for Max's parents at the town hall, and we find out that they're partying there, and the kids find them and are like explaining the whole situation, trying to warn them and tell them, we need your help to stop them. But, you know, typical parents, they are unconvinced because, you know, they're listening to this, what sounds like nonsense. And even I would think it's nonsense. Like, come on, kids.
Yeah.
How much candy have you had?
I mean, honestly, it's Halloween night. Like, they could have easily been tricking them and whatever.
Mm-hmm. And this part I thought was really funny because as they're looking for their parents, Max's dad comes up and scares him. And he's like, Dad. And the dad's like, no, I'm not Dad tonight. I'm Dad Killer. Because he was dressed as a vampire, aka Dracula. So he called himself Dad Killer. And I was like, oh my god, dad jokes, even in the 90s.
Oh my god. Okay, so then the next part we see Danny talking to the mom, and the mom is just like Madonna.
Like, obviously Madonna, with the coney boobs.
Yeah, so now my question is, this wasn't mentioned in the movie, but my question is, does that make her Mom Donna?
Oh my god. Oh my. Mom Donna and Dad Killer. Oh my god.
Oh god, the puns everywhere. They're flying.
So, as the children are trying to convince their parents, the sisters enter the town hall, and as Max tries to warn the people on stage, he basically says, the Sanderson sisters are here, they're right there, and the light goes on to the Sanderson sisters, and they take it in stride. They're like, yes, we are here, like kind of playing with the children, and basically with the attention on them now, they take advantage of it, and start a musical number. Of course,
it's like honestly the best way to like put a spell on somebody.
And so the witches start to sing, and they're casting a spell on everyone to dance till they die. And they're like, "I'm gonna cast a spell on you,
and now you're mine." Okay, anyway.
And then it's funny because right when they said, I'm going to cast a spell on you, it gave me vibes to that Scooby-Doo movie with the Hex Girls. If you guys are listening to this and you guys have to know Scooby-Doo, you have to know that movie, the Hex Girls.
What was the movie? Was it something Island? It was... Zombie Island? Oh, it might be Zombie Island.
But I don't think it was zombie because the people were werewolves.
I don't remember.
But okay, it was something.
Just look up every Scooby-Doo movie. Watch every single Scooby-Doo movie.
Because it was great.
They were gold. Oh, God.
But back to Hocus Pocus. So, as the witches are casting a spell on the parents, the kids are like, don't listen to it. Don't listen to it. They're trying to trick you. Mm-hmm. And so they escape because they realize that the adults are not listening to them.
Yeah, they're gonna
and they're already in the spell. So the kids run away and try to devise a plan to capture and kill the witches.
Mm-hmm. So basically the plan is to lure them into the school and then, well, we see the plan play out. So basically they lure the witches into the school and they lure them into the kiln, which if you guys don't know what a kiln is, it's basically like a giant...
A ceramic oven.
Yeah, it's a giant ceramic oven that you
pottery.
put... Yeah.
Yeah.
So they lure them in, they lock the doors, and they basically just burn the witches.
Yeah. And I thought that was kind of dark because there's like a little window that they looked into to watch, like they were watching the witches burn alive.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy hell, like that's like some Saw level things.
Yeah,
like to watch people burn, like to watch the witches burn. They were just watching and then they walked off like a little while after.
I guess because they're not technically human, quote unquote human anymore, like I guess it's okay for them to watch, but still
another check mark for being dark.
I know, like as an 8-year-old child, I'm pretty sure Danny should have been scarred from it, but she didn't.
Yeah.
She's a trooper.
And also I just want to like make a highlight the comment that the witches said about the school. As they're coming to the school, they call it a prison for children. And in my head, I was like, they ain't wrong.
Yeah.
A prison for children.
They're actually very dead on.
So once the witches are incinerated, the kids go back home with Thackeray and fall asleep until around 5 a.m.
Yeah, they basically celebrate like, woohoo, the witches are dead. We're going home now.
And Danny tells Thackeray that he can always be a member of their family for all the generations to come, which was really sweet.
Yeah.
But the thing, like, as I was watching this part, I thought it was kind of weird that Thackeray didn't return to being a human after the witches died, because from what I've seen in, pop culture and like previous movies, is that usually if the witches die, the spell should be lifted.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it at the end, I guess, but because like, it kind of wraps everything up. Yeah. But like, I understand what you mean, because like the witch's magic is like no good anymore.
Yeah, because I just feel like the power would go with the witch.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess it makes sense because like it's a curse. So even if the witches aren't gone, like that's why like they were dead technically for like 300 years, and then Thackeray was still alive. It's because it's a curse, not like a spell.
Oh.
So that explains why. But then that rule gets broken easily at the end. So We'll talk about that after.
So as the kids are sleeping, we see the scene goes back to the high school and back to the kiln where the witches come out of and show that they are still alive.
Yeah. So this part I guess it makes sense. Because it's like the spell is like, oh, it's on Halloween night, so like they're alive for Halloween night. But still, yeah, like you think they're burned alive, so it would make sense that they'd be dead,
especially in Salem where they burned witches.
Yeah, I'm like, that's like cardinal rule to like release the exorcist demon from a human body is like you burn it, like. Whatever. Just for the logic of this movie, it makes sense, I guess.
Yeah.
So whatever.
So as they come out of the kiln, they go back to a neighborhood to look for children, and they find the bullies.
Yeah.
Jay and Ice, and they're like, we don't want you. We want Danny. We want the little girl. And the guys are like, just like kind of making fun of them and saying that, calling them ugly and hags.
Yeah.
And as the sisters were walking away because they were going to spare them, right when he calls them ugly, they just freeze. And they turn around and they're like, never mind, we'll take you instead.
So basically it cuts to the scene where like Jay and Ice are like hanging from like cages on the ceiling of their house.
Yeah.
It's the best form of torture for them, I think.
It was karma.
Yeah, definitely karma, definitely just desserts.
But then the sisters, specifically Winnie, is upset because they have the children, but to get their soul out of them, she has to make a potion. And to make that potion, she needs her magical book, which Max and his friends have. And because they need the potion recipe and they didn't memorize it. So basically the kids are useless to them until they have the book. So Winnie is moping around because she and her sisters are going to die in a couple of hours.
Yeah.
Remember, she said that they will die at sunrise if they haven't sucked out the life out of children.
Yeah. So we see in like the next scene, Max and Allison basically kind of like stay up, or do they wake up or stay up?
They wake up.
Yeah, so they wake up and then they read the book because they open the book because they want to see if they can find a cure for Thackeray.
To restore him to his human form.
Yeah.
And prior to this, Thackeray told them never to open the book.
Yeah.
Because it's nothing but badness.
Yeah. And we find out the reason they shouldn't open the book is because it sends a warning beacon in the sky to the witches, like, hey, like, I'm still here, like,
hey, like, this is how to find me. Because as they are looking through the book, they unknowingly, like, in the movie, like, we the viewers can see this orange light coming out of there, but Allison and Max, who are looking through the book, don't even know, like, they don't see it. So basically it's coming out of Max's house, and it's like straight up
90 CG.
90 CG, and just a dumb move, you know, like,
yeah,
the kids should have just left the book closed, but yeah,
like, honestly, they could have waited till morning.
Yeah,
like, that could have been a smarter idea. But I did write down on a note, it's like the book was literally glowing. How the hell did they not see the light?
It was
coming?
probably meant for us to see only.
Okay, that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
But because I was just like imagining, like, they're just reading through the book and they don't notice the pages are literally shining like bright lights into their eyes.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
So I think it was kind of for, like, you know, for the fourth dimension people.
Okay.
But as they're looking through the book, Allison is like, oh, I should start heading home. Because is it late or is it early?
I guess it's literally.
But they realize that Max's parents aren't home yet, and Max is surprised, and they're just like, oh, maybe they had a lot of fun, whatever. And Allison is like, you know, actually, do you have some salt? Because I feel like it can be used for protection. It's it's like a tool to
it's like
ward off evilness or whatever.
a salt circle.
Yeah. So she was again, this highlights the fact that she's a firm believer in, like, Halloween and, you know, those beliefs. So the fact that she grabbed the salt and hung on to it kind of emphasized that.
I mean, at this point, I feel like all of them have to be real about it. Like, they can't just make this up anymore.
So as Max gives her the salt downstairs, they hear a commotion upstairs, and they rush up and realize that the book is gone, and so is Danny.
Yeah. So, okay, well, let's talk about this. They walk upstairs. They realize the book is gone. They go to wake up Danny, and the biggest jump scare of the movie occurs. I'm not even kidding you. He pulls the sheets up. Max pulls the sheets up, and Sarah just pops out and, like, jump scares you. And I'm just like, I'm like sitting on our table and whatever, and I literally jump up.
Guys, he literally jumped. He was sitting right next to me, and out of the corner of my eye, like, I see him jump, and he grabs my arm, and I'm like, did you really just jump from that?
It was okay, it wasn't terrifying, but, like, honestly,
it was scary. It was a good jump scare, because you see, like, Sarah, who has, like, this kind of craziness to her, and, like, scare Max, and she has, like, a scary smile on her face.
Yeah, like, I mean, honestly, it's just the fact that I was surprised. The thing is, like, I expected it, but yet I still got scared by it. And I normally don't jump. Like, I usually do, like, this, like, weird, like, little flinch or whatever, but I don't jump. This is the first time I actually jumped.
Is this young Austin coming into play? Like, did you jump when you were younger?
No. You know, honestly, I don't even think I jumped at that time at all. Like, I never really fazed me that I was supposed to be scary.
Oh, it would have scared me if I was 8 years old.
But anyway, so getting back to the story, Sarah jumps out. They abduct Danny.
They realize that the sisters are still alive, first of all.
Oh, yeah. They realize the sisters are alive. They abduct Danny. They blast through the roof, and then they take her back to the house.
And on the way to the house, Sarah lures more children back to the town with her singing spell.
Honestly, like, it would lure me too.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
But this kind of made me think of the Pied Piper.
The what?
The Pied Piper.
Right over my head.
Are you serious?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
But he was the guy that would play his pipe or his flute or whatever in the middle of the night. And the sound that would come from his instrument would lure sleeping children to come outside and follow him.
I have no idea what you're talking about. This is live. We didn't plan this. I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, everyone, if you remember the Pied Piper, please leave a comment below. I know. This was like a story, like a urban legend kind of. Okay, not maybe an urban legend, but it was a story.
Okay, so this is a story
from childhood.
Story.
Yeah,
I thought it was like a movie or something like that.
No. Okay, I don't know if there could be a movie, but it's a story. It's like just one of those childhood tales.
Never heard of it before.
Everyone, please, if you know the Pied Piper, please back me up and leave a comment.
Don't at me.
At Austin.
Don't at me.
But so basically, Sarah lures children Pied Piper style.
Yeah.
And
whatever that means.
In the meantime, Max and Allison devise a plan to save Danny.
So basically, they drive to the house. Well, they first have to barrel through children, basically, and then they drive to the house.
To this witch's house.
Yeah. And then they get to the house. But then, meanwhile, Danny is like kind of like just being a badass little child.
Yeah, she's like trying to stall and being a smart aleck.
She's like shit talking Winnie, and then she called her ugly, and then that just like set her off.
Yeah, Winnie like explodes. The one thing with these witches is you do not call them ugly.
Yeah, like ugly is their trigger word, man. Yeah. I mean, I guess that's like everybody's trigger word. Like, let's be real.
If someone called me ugly, to each their own.
I guess, but I mean, if they were sincere about it, like I'd be kind of hurt too.
I'd laugh with them. I'd love, haha, you think that's funny? Oh no, I'm actually really beautiful.
Okay, see, that's like what Winnie thinks about herself though. But anyways, so basically Winnie's like really upset at Danny now. Yeah,
like she wants this girl's soul.
Yeah. So right before, they're basically forcing the potion into her, but she's not, like Danny's obviously not drinking it. Max rushes in with the car, or not with the car's behind him, obviously. He rushes in, he's like, I know something that you guys don't, which is the dumbest thing in the world.
I know.
He's like, I know daylight savings, and all the witches are like, ha 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 ha, I don't know what you're talking about. And then you just see the headlights of the car blare into the windows, and the witches are just screaming like, it's daylight!
Oh no, the sun has risen! And then they start like dramatically like falling to the ground, hand on their forehead, like.
My favorite part is like Sarah, like on the side comments, like, it burns! So Max rushes, grabs Danny, grabs Thackeray, who was hanging from a ceiling in a bag. And then they rush home. And then I remember like on a side comment, Danny was like, wait, I want to see them turn to dust. And then it's just like, never mind, let's go.
Yeah. Because as they leave the house, you find out that Allison used the headlights from the car that they drove to get to the house as the fake sunlight.
Yeah, god damn, that was like cheesy.
I mean, it's cheesy but kind of smart, like for what they had.
Also, they're running out, and then like a really small note, it has nothing to do with the story, but like Max grabs the shoes that Ice took from him.
Because again, remember, the bullies are hanging in a cage.
Yeah. Also, did you notice that the shoes were tied together? I don't understand why though. Because, like, why would the witches need to tie them up? Or why would he tie them up together?
I don't know.
And it was inside the cage. And it was, like, between the bars. So they would have to tie it while he was in the cage.
Right.
So, like, what was the point of that?
Visuals.
I guess. So it doesn't really make any sense to me. Anyways, just like a note. I was like, what?
Oh, yeah. And let's note that Max didn't save the bullies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he left them in there.
They were begging, oh, please help us. And he's like, I'll take my shoes.
Yeah. Oh, also, he knocks over the cauldron, which is a big point.
Oh, yeah. So the potion that the witches made because they finally had the book again was completed. And as they were trying to force Danny to drink it, it was already ready. So yeah, Max knocks it over, and the kids, after fake burning the witches, they run to the cemetery.
Yeah.
And Billy, remember Winnie's dead lover, who was brought back to life, aka zombie guy, catches Max. And as the witch, and it cuts back to the witches, they realize, oh my god, it was fake. He tricked us yet again. And they're looking at the potion that's spilled and like, oh no, we have just like a little bit to use. So they get a a flask or something.
Yeah.
And put the remaining potion in there to use later.
Yeah. So we see them so basically the kids are driving, and then you just see Winnie on the side of the car, just flying to keep the speed with each other. And then basically they cartoon 90s style push Winnie from the broom into the bushes. It's very
and mind you, they're using not just their witch's broom. They're using Winnie's using a broom, Mary's using a vacuum, and Sarah's using a mop.
Yeah. It's the dumbest thing in the world, because they further down the movie the witches' brooms were taken by children. So whatever. So basically the witches realize that they were tricked and are chasing after the kids, and once they find them in the graveyard, and as Billy catches Max, we find out that Billy is actually mad at Winnie and therefore joins Max and his gang. Yeah.
He never wanted to help the witch. He wants to help Max destroy her.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, come on. She killed you, so of course you would be against her. I don't know why Winnie thought he would help her.
I know, that's what I was thinking too. I was from the beginning, I was why would you resurrect the husband that you killed?
Yeah.
Resurrect the lover that would die for you.
That would die, yeah. Die again for you.
But, so, we see that Allison and Max and Billy and Danny are setting up Billy's undead grave to work as a circle, a safety circle.
Yeah.
They put Danny inside the circle, and then they put Salt around the circle
to help protect her from the witches yet again.
Yeah.
But it proves to be in vain, because as everyone is kind of fighting against each other, Billy loses his head literally, and Danny tries to save him, but in doing so, she leaves the circle and the hollowed ground, or the dug up grave, and in this moment Winnie grabs her.
Which, okay, I want to point out, that was Danny was so smart leading all the way up to it, and literally your only job is to stay in the circle, and you can't even do that. I get you want to help Billy, but seriously, Billy's a zombie.
He's immortal.
Yeah, just he'll find his head, or just scream out to somebody else to find his head for him.
Yeah.
So stupid. Anyways.
So basically, as Winnie grabs Danny, Thackeray attacks Winnie in cat form, and by attacking Winnie, she drops the potion, and Max catches the potion.
Yeah.
And as he catches the potion, he's like, "Give me back my sister," and Winnie's like, "I'm gonna kill her," or whatever. And Max decides he's gonna drink the potion to take his sister's place.
Yeah.
Because they need the child that drank the potion in order to suck out his life force.
Well, they only have potion enough for one child, and since he drank the last of it, they have to suck the life out of him.
He's become the sacrificial lamb.
Yeah. He gave him the ultimate ultimatum.
Yeah.
So basically, they exchange. Winnie exchanges Danny for Max, and Max is flying in the air with Winnie, obviously.
And she's slowly sucking out his life force.
Meanwhile, the rest of the children, Allison, Danny, Billy, and Thackeray, are fighting against Sarah and Mary. Basically, Mary has because she's riding a vacuum, her cord is dangling down, so they grab the cord and they pull her, and Sarah is trying to pull Mary in the opposite direction to grab him.
So basically, the kids use the science of momentum against the witches, and they let go of the cord, and basically the sisters are flying in the air, out of control.
Yeah. And then cut to Winnie and Max. Basically, Max and Winnie fight all the way to the ground, basically. So they land on the ground. And
in this moment, the sun is rising.
So what happens is Winnie grabs Max, and they both realize that she's on the ground. So she starts turning into stone.
Because witches cannot be on hollowed ground.
Exactly. So she's turned into stone. The sun is rising. This is where shit hits the fans for the witches.
It's too late.
Sarah and Mary, they're in the air flying around because they lost control. They turn into dust immediately.
Right as the sunlight touches them.
Yeah.
They explode into dust.
Yep. And then Winnie had turned into stone. Has Max in her fists.
Yeah.
And she's like basically trying to suck the soul out of him, but she realizes she turned to stone because of the hollowed ground, and then she turns into dust because of the sunrise.
So basically the stone statue that she's in explodes.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is the end to the Sanderson sisters.
Yep, the final death of the sisters.
So the kids are all relieved, and finally they saw with their own eyes that the sisters are no more.
Yeah.
So Billy takes this as his cue to go back to his eternal sleep, and Thackeray is on the ground and he's actually dying because he fell to the ground, and now that the spell is lifted, he can finally die.
Yeah.
After 300 years.
Which is really sad. 300 years, man.
It doesn't feel like a long time.
So we see his spirit, ghost or whatever, walking around.
His human form.
He's like, don't be sad, Danny. Like, you saved me, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then you just see Emily from the corner. It's like...
his little sister again. Remember that.
Thackeray, where have you gone, Thackeray?
Where is thou?
Wherefore art thou, Thackeray?
She's like, you kept me waiting a long time. And so basically it shows him and his sister in spirit form leaving through the gates of the cemetery as the sun is rising. And I totally instantly had a thought. I was like, so is them going through the graveyard gate a metaphor for heaven's gate?
I mean, I guess so. The parallels are there.
Like, I was like, I see it.
But, like, isn't the graveyard... I guess that makes sense because if you think about it, right, the graveyard is where you are buried for your eternal sleep, right? So that's the last place you are on Earth. Mm-hmm. And then the gates represent you leaving the grave to go into heaven.
To the afterlife.
There you go. Wow. I'm, like, pulling at strings right now. It's like... anyways, the movie is basically over at this point. We see the credits.
Yeah.
Basically, Jay and Ice are still in the cages.
Yeah. Serves them right. Like, I like this movie because it goes to show that if you're a bully, nothing good happens.
I know. I like 90s movies based on the fact that bullies always get their just desserts.
Yes.
Also, we see that the parents and the rest of the adults, like, come out of the party alive.
The town hall, and, like, they're sweating up a storm because they were dancing nonstop.
Yeah. I'm like, okay. First of all, I would like to say that I think dancing till you die is probably the best way to die because you're having fun while you die, so it's not the worst thing in the world. But, like, also, like, how would you die? Like, dehydration? Having too much fun?
Possibly.
Anyways, that's the end of the movie.
Overall, it was really good. You know, let's go into the 3 questions and we can share more of our thoughts on this.
All right. So the first question be, was it a good movie overall?
Overall, for my first time watching it, I enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. Like, out of the 3 movies we watched so far, recap, Halloween Town, Twitches, and Hocus Pocus, this is number 1 on my list.
So far.
You guys don't know what we have lined up next.
Oh my god. But
back to this movie, I thought, like, the graphics weren't as cringeworthy as Halloween Town. The plot and the story was way better than Twitches. Mm-hmm. It was very entertaining. I did have my laughs. I did have my questionable dark theme moments, but overall, it was a good movie.
I think so too.
What about you? What do you think?
I think overall it was a good family movie. It was a good standalone family movie. Like, I think Halloween Town and Twitches, because they were DComs, like, you have to be, like, very conservative. But, like, this one, it's just a regular Disney movie, so they could break more rules, which made it even better for everybody. I think what makes a good movie is that, like, it's good for children, but then it also has, like, jokes for adults as well.
Yes. So, the kids would love the whole, you know, like, storyline, whatever, but you know, like, those hidden, like, you know, those, like, little comments that they, like, let slide in, like, oh, like, the bus driver, oh, take a few tries.
Yeah,
that is something we can laugh at.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. That's kind of like when I was watching it, you know, first time as a 23-year-old, like, I caught it all.
Yeah, but this is, like, definitely, like, a pinnacle of, like, a 90s movie. You have, like, the adult jokes, the sneaking adult jokes. You have, like, the child actors, obviously. Mm-hmm. You have, like, the corny plot line. and then you have the obligatory dance song number in the middle of the movie.
Yes.
So, I mean, this has like everything that I wanted in the 90s movie. So overall, I did like it. It was a good movie.
So we can both agree. Good movie.
It was a good movie.
Okay, next question. Does the movie hold up in today's Halloween culture?
I think...
Like, do you think it would be an appropriate watch?
I think so. Yeah, this is definitely like, I mean, as far as like Halloween traditions movie goes, like this is definitely like up there.
I totally agree. Like, it has kind of like everything. It has like witches. It talks about Halloween Day. It has like some myths, and it has like a little scariness to it.
Yeah, like I think whenever you think about a Halloween movie, this is one of the first that pops up.
Yes.
Well, as far as like children's movies goes, like I think of like Halloween movies, like probably like horror movies or whatever.
But this is more of like that classic. Cult classic.
Yeah, this is cult classic for children. Like anybody who grew up in the 90s or early 2000s knows this movie.
Yes. Even if you haven't watched it like me, you've at least heard of it.
Yeah.
And because like the three witches, like their look is so like, like iconic, like
oh yeah.
You just know that it's Hocus Pocus when you see these three witches.
Oh god. I remember watching a YouTube video that like they did like a full makeup tutorial on how to become Winnie from Hocus Pocus, and she looked so good. Like it looked exactly like Winnie.
Although like, when you can dress up as characters, I don't remember the Sanderson sisters being like a dress up option.
I don't think it really was. I think it was more just like the movie itself was like kind of like an icon by itself. It wasn't anything costume worthy, I guess.
Because like a witch is, a popular like costume anyway, so I guess anyone could be like a witch.
Yeah, so.
But yeah, I think it would stand in today's Halloween culture, and it's a movie I would play for like my little cousin.
Yeah.
Like just to put us in the festive spirit. It's something that I would keep watching.
Yeah, I would probably watch it with my niece. That'd be fun.
I probably wouldn't watch it by myself just for funsies, but I definitely put it on like if I was at a family party and there was kids around.
Though I probably like for like our high school reunions or whatever, I'd probably play this if it was a Halloween party.
Agreed. Like I just wouldn't watch it by myself.
Yeah, I wouldn't. What is the word?
Take the time out of my day to watch it.
Yeah, I wouldn't optionally watch this movie, but I would watch it like if it was like some kind of event.
Yeah, at least with one other person.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's a good Halloween movie.
Okay, now third question is more for you. Do you still like it? If not, why?
I still like it. And I think the why has changed. Like, actually, I'm going to be honest with you. Because I was so young when I watched it, I never really understood it that well. Like, I never really understood the plot that much because I didn't understand it as a kid. I watched it when I was like 8 all the way to like 13, so I didn't really understand most of the stuff. So as far as now goes, I like it more.
Wow.
Yeah. So, because I understand it more, it makes sense, it's a good family movie. Will I say it's like one of the movies I would watch again and again? Probably not, but it's a good movie that I now understand.
I have a better appreciation for.
Yes, I have an appreciation for it because now I fully understand the movie and it makes more sense now. So yes.
Well, as my first time watching it as like, an adult, I would say it was I like it. Like 23-year-old Michelle likes it.
Do you think 8-year-old Michelle would like it?
I think it would. I would. It really gives off Halloween vibes and it puts you in the spirit. And although 8-year-old Michelle would probably have been scared to watch this, to be honest, I was like a scaredy cat. Like I thought Harry Potter Chamber of Secrets was scary. Like that scared the bejesus out of me. Okay.
I would agree with you on that one. Chamber of Secrets was definitely scary.
This one, I don't know how scared I would have been, but I think I would have been like you, where watching it again, I would have picked up more on the jokes and the humor to it. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's something I think I'll watch again in the future.
So what prevented you from watching it before? Okay,
so I don't know. Like, I think it was just the graphics. Me personally, like, I can't stand bad graphics. So now if I had to like watch it, I probably just wouldn't. But growing up, I remember seeing it, but I just never watched it fully. I don't know why I never fully watched it, but it was always around, like I said on Tumblr, iconic. Like this movie withstands the tale of time because if it's repeating on Tumblr, it's still alive.
Yeah, it's even one of those movies where it's like you could definitely show it to like children nowadays and they'd still like understand it fully.
Yeah, and I feel like they'd still get a kick out of it.
Yeah, there's no technology in it. There's like nothing about iPhones or whatever, so it's easier for them to be like, okay, like I relate to this more.
Yeah,
because I think the thing that turns children off to like old movies is the fact that they have flip phones.
Oh my god.
Like, like those really old technologies that's like no one uses, so they're gonna be like, what is that? Like, what are they using it for?
Kids nowadays will never understand the satisfaction of slamming your phone, like your flip phone, shut when you hung up on people.
We sound like really old hags. Whippersnappers these days won't understand
these touchscreens. If I wanted the letter S, I had to click that button 4 times.
Oh my god, I hated texting. That's why I barely texted as a kid, because it was like
I couldn't text.
I couldn't text either. Like my sister had a Sidekick, and I had a dumbass like Motorola phone. It wasn't a Razr either. It was like a dumbass like regular phone, and I couldn't do it.
I always wanted a Sidekick. Okay, we're digressing.
Yeah,
but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, maybe later.
But okay, any other comments you want to talk about this movie, B?
I mean, I just want to re-emphasize the fact that they brought up being a virgin so many times in the movie. It's a kid's movie.
I was kind of mind blown, like that they talked about that in early 90s, mind you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just blown away.
I don't know. I guess like because like what we said, we were kids. Like when we were watching this, it made sense that like no one's gonna like really pick up on it or whatever. But even then, it's like I feel like at least one kid watching it would be like, "What's a virgin?"
Yeah, like do you want your kids asking you, Mom, Dad, what is a virgin? And you'll be like, where did you hear that? And they'll be like, oh, like this movie, like they said that a virgin had to light the candle. But then we talked about this last night, actually, and we both went to Catholic school.
Mm-hmm.
And for people who don't know, or for people who do know, like, the Virgin Mary.
Mm-hmm.
I never questioned what the Virgin Mary was. I thought that was just part of her title.
I questioned it because I didn't really I understood the story, but I didn't understand why she was called the Virgin Mary, because I was like, she's pregnant. I knew about sex, at least to the point where it's like you had to be pregnant in order to have a baby.
You needed a guy to make a baby.
Well, I didn't know about that either. I just knew that you need, like, a woman would be pregnant and then you'd have a baby.
Uh-huh.
But I didn't understand what a virgin meant. So I was like, what's a virgin? And then my mom, she didn't outright say, like, like a virgin's basically not having sex.
Right.
She basically just said, like, I forget what she said, but it was alluding to the fact that, like, yeah. And I understood it. I understood what it meant, but she didn't say it outright. So that's how I learned about what a virgin was.
I don't think I ever asked my parents what a virgin was. Like, because of the Virgin Mary, I just thought it was a title. Again, like, I didn't know it was something we all were. Could have been.
I think the fact that I thought Virgin was her first name, I think, at one point, and then Mary was her last name. And then I got confusing because everybody just referred to her as Mary at a certain point. And I was like, well, where's the Virgin? Why isn't her name, like, why isn't anyone calling her Virgin?
But again, the fact that they brought this up in a kids movie, like, okay, everyone who's listening, did you guys catch it when you guys were kids, or what? Like,
I mean, also, like, I feel like this joke is just like we're analyzing this joke like hardcore right now, but
it was like a pretty predominant thing in the movie.
Yeah, it occurred at least 3 times in the movie.
Like, the fact that like they could have just been like, oh yeah, a virgin has to light the candle. Just like, how people joke, oh, we need a virgin sacrifice, or, whatever, to appease the gods.
Yeah. But I think the fact that, like, they made him the virgin instead of, like Allison or whatever.
Because that would have, like, it's stereotype. Like, when you think of, like, oh, we must sacrifice a virgin, everyone would think, oh, we must have a girl to sacrifice.
Yeah.
But I think the fact that they made Max do it was super funny.
Yeah, that's definitely like the punchline of the whole thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess it opened the door to, like, making virgin jokes about him now.
Yeah.
But still, whatever. That was my biggest thing. I hated that. I was like, God, this is a children's movie. Stop saying virgin.
I know, like the fact that after they talked about it beyond just the burning candle, it did make my head turn.
Yeah, but I mean, again, children doesn't know what virgins are, so it doesn't really matter, I guess.
Yeah, this is just adult Misha and Austin talking about it.
Yeah. Anything else you want to talk about?
No, overall good movie. If you haven't watched it, coming from someone who's watched it for the first time, I highly recommend it.
Mm-hmm. And coming from a person who's watched it many times before, I highly recommend it too. It's a good movie. Anyways, I guess that wraps up this podcast.
That wraps up this one. And guys, you guys are really gonna like the next movie we do, so stay tuned.
I am so excited for this movie. So I can't wait. Make sure to tune in every week this month. Next week is gonna be the last week of Tea with Honey before our Halloween special. So get pumped for that. Really good movie, and then a Halloween special to follow up with it. It's going to be great.
We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and make sure to like and subscribe this video.
Mm-hmm. And you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at _ to be or not to be.
And at to be or not to be for YouTube and SoundCloud, as you should know if you're listening to this.
Yep. Anyway, guys, that's it for today. Bye.
We'll see ya. Bye.
To Be or Not to Be was directed, produced, and hosted by Michelle Felipe and Austin Chun. Special thanks to our friend Simon for letting us use his office. Music by Joakim Karud, and you can find him on SoundCloud, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, and iTunes. Licensed under the Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 Unported Share Alike license.
You can find us at To Be or Not to Be, one word, on Instagram and Twitter. And make sure to subscribe and like us on YouTube and SoundCloud.